You do everything right at night. The chamomile, the quiet, the perfect pillow. Yet you still wake up foggy, your balance is off in the morning, and your energy fizzles by noon. Here's the gap. Some bedroom items quietly bathe you in electromagnetic noise and harsh light while you sleep, nudging your brain and heart into a shallow rest. The fix is not a renovation. It's one small step you can take tonight, increasing distance and cutting nighttime signals. If you're 65 or older, deep sleep is your brain's nightly housekeeping. It clears metabolic waste, resets memory pathways, steadies mood. Anything that keeps your nerves listening. Blue light, wireless signals, small magnetic fields right against the body may chip away at that process. A quick pointer. Before bed, place any powered gadget at least an arm and a half away from your pillow. If it can go on airplane mode, do it. You'll know you're on the right track when falling asleep feels steadier within a week and you wake once fewer than usual. The glow you don't feel. After 50, circadian rhythms often weaken. Phones, tablets, and some bulbs push bright, short wavelength light that tells the brain, still daytime. At the same time, the radio signals that make your phone smart keep tiny sensors inside busy, and your nervous system a little more alert than it should be. Evelyn, 68, in Columbus, kept her phone on the mattress in case her daughter texted. The screen stayed dark, so it felt harmless. But every reply ping meant a flicker of light and a burst of radio chatter next to her temple. She used an electric throw on low across her legs, a clock radio glowing green by her face, and a charging pad humming on the nightstand. She didn't feel heat, buzz, or pain. What she noticed was subtler, a mind that wouldn't fully sink, a tremble in her hands pouring coffee, a sour patience with her husband at breakfast. One evening she decided to do a quiet reset. The phone moved to a small dish across the room on airplane mode. The clock went onto the dresser. The throw was unplugged before lights out. The first night felt oddly quiet, as if the room exhaled. The second night, she slept through until dawn. By the third, she woke with a steadier step. What this means for a 50-plus listener: small changes to distance and light can improve sleep quality without medication. First, remind yourself, distance is your friend. Energy from small sources falls off quickly as you move even a little farther away. Next, pick the one item you always keep closest, usually the phone, and give it a new home beyond arm's reach. Then, reduce unnecessary signals at night. Airplane mode for phones and tablets, Wi-Fi off if your router sits in the bedroom, and do not disturb set to allow only true emergencies. Finally, warm up your light. Use a low-brightness bulb labeled warm with a shade. Dim it in the hour before bed. A general note on science. Large organizations consistently say typical household exposures from phones, routers, and lamps are within safety limits. Still, many also advise practical steps to reduce unnecessary exposure, especially at night when your brain wants quiet. Our goal is not fear. It's a calmer bedroom for a calmer nervous system. The nightstand that never sleeps. Chargers, wireless pads, digital clocks, and smart speakers live inches from where we rest. For older adults, proximity matters more because sleep architecture can be lighter and arousals more frequent. That steady trickle of light and signal may be enough to keep you skimming the surface of sleep. Imagine the soft tick of a wall vent, the faint plastic smell of a brand new charging brick, the cool glass of your phone face under your fingertips. These tiny cues become a habit loop. Check, glance, respond. The nervous system learns to expect activity, even at midnight. Here's a quick action you can take tonight to test whether your nightstand is part of the problem. First, move anything that talks to the internet, phone, tablet, smart speaker, at least 2 arm lengths from your pillow. Next, switch off wireless pads and charge your device in the hallway or kitchen. Then set your clock display to the dimmest setting or replace it with a battery-powered analog clock. Finally, note in the morning, did you wake fewer times or feel a beat calmer on your first steps? That is your sign you're moving the needle. Instruction block, a calmer, low-signal nightstand setup. First, clear the top of your nightstand and designate a sleep bowl by the bedroom door for your phone and watch. Next, set your phone to airplane mode with allow calls from favorites if emergencies are a concern, and place it in that bowl before you get into bed. Then relocate plug-in clocks and chargers so the closest power device sits at least a full forearm plus hand away from your pillow, ideally across the room. Finally, choose a single, warm bedside lamp with a fabric shade and turn on a 20-minute lights down habit. Lamp on low, screens away, breathing slow. Benefits: deeper sleep, steadier morning balance, fewer micro wake-ups, and a room that feels restful on sight. Risks of ignoring: persistent light and wireless noise near the head may be associated with fragmented sleep, elevated nighttime alertness, and daytime fog. If this already sparks a small aha, I'd love to hear it. Which device sleeps closest to your head right now? Leave a short comment with one change you'll try tonight. Let's get practical first. If a gadget connects without a wire or glows after lights out, give it distance and a curfew. A simple check: stand by your bed and stretch your arm. If your fingertips can touch a powered device, it's too close for a quiet night. Many bedrooms hide a double act beside the pillow: the smartphone and its charger, especially wireless pads. For older adults, this pairing is a sleep thief. The blue-rich pop of a notification pulls melatonin downward. The radio handshakes that keep your phone synced never fully sleep. Add a wireless pad that emits a whisper of energy while idling, and your nightstand becomes the busiest corner of the house, precisely when your brain needs silence. The culprit hiding in plain sight. You might think, but I barely use it at night. Even an idle smartphone checks in with networks and apps. That's normal, and it's another reason to plan your room so those check-ins happen across the space, not by your ear. For people over 65, with lighter sleep and more sensitive balance upon waking, little disturbances add up. First, decide what truly must stay bedside for safety, maybe a fall alert button or a small lamp. Next, assign everything else a new home, a hallway console or the far wall. Then commit to a nightly routine. Plug the phone in away from the bed 30 minutes before lights out, set Do Not Disturb, and switch the charger off at the wall if it's not needed overnight. Finally, test for a week and keep a simple note: bedtime, wake-ups, morning steadiness. That note is your proof. Micro stories from quiet rooms. Tom, 72, in Seattle, noticed he always woke around 2. He moved the Wi-Fi router out of the bedroom to the living room and started charging his phone in the kitchen. The first night, he still woke. By night 3, he slept through until his dog's gentle collar jingle. One sensory shift stood out to him. The bedroom felt less buzzy, like the air itself stopped humming. What this means for a 50-plus listener: relocating signal-heavy devices can reduce nighttime awakenings. Marta, 66, in Leeds, swapped a harsh, cold white bulb for a small, warm lamp with a fabric shade and set her tablet to airplane mode after reading. She described the change as soft on the eyes, and her morning felt less jagged. What this means for a 50-plus listener: warmer light and fewer pings before sleep may improve morning alertness. The safety lens, not the scare lens. Let's keep perspective. Regulatory limits exist for a reason, and typical home devices sit well beneath them when used as intended. Health bodies emphasize that evidence for harm from everyday, low-level exposures is mixed. At the same time, common sense measures, distance, duration, darkness, are widely recommended for better sleep, especially in later life. We can honor both truths. No panic, yet proactive about the bedroom we control. First, take 5 quiet minutes before bed to walk the room. Next, ask what glows, what talks wirelessly, what warms when plugged in. Then move those items back and reduce their nighttime activity. Finally, sit on the edge of the bed, feel the sheet cool under your palms, and let the room be boring again, because boring is restful. Small request: if any of these tweaks helped you feel steadier today, share one line in the comments so others your age can try the same. If you're new here, consider subscribing. This channel is built for your sleep, memory, balance, and independence. There's a quiet hum most of us stopped hearing: the subtle electric field of everything we plug in. After 60, Our body's own electrical rhythms slow and shift. Heart conduction, brain waves, muscle impulses. The more wired the space we sleep in, the harder it can be for those natural rhythms to stay steady. The surprising source isn't your phone this time. It's the mattress warmer, the heated blanket, the adjustable bed base that glows faintly beneath you all night. The warmth that steals rest. It began as comfort. Harold, 74, in Denver, adored the feeling of his electric blanket on cold nights. He'd click it to low, climb in, and drift off under the soft hum. But over time, he noticed something strange: shallow sleep and morning grogginess. One morning, his wife found the blanket still warm hours after sunrise. The built-in wires had aged, giving off tiny fluctuations in current right under their bodies. They replaced it with a thick cotton quilt and used a space heater to warm the room before bed instead. Within nights, the difference was dramatic. Harold described his rest as deeper, quieter. The twitch in his legs eased. He woke feeling truly refreshed. What this means for a 50-plus listener: indirect warmth, heating the room, not the body, supports steadier rest and circulation. These devices don't create a danger in the usual sense, but they can disrupt the delicate temperature rhythm that helps the elderly body fall asleep. Deep sleep begins when core body temperature drops slightly. Prolonged surface heat delays that cooling, tricking your body into thinking it's still evening. Even small electric fields near sensitive tissues like the chest may add unnecessary stimulation for those with pacemakers or heart rhythm sensitivities. A simple reset for heated bedding. First, pre-warm your bed, not your body. Run the blanket for 10 minutes before lying down. Then switch it off and unplug it completely. Next, layer natural fibers like cotton or wool, which breathe and hold warmth without trapping heat. Then, if your room runs cold, heat the air instead. A small, thermostatically controlled space heater placed across the room can maintain comfort without constant contact. Finally, check your blanket's cords. If they're stiff, frayed, or over 10 years old, retire it. Small habit, big change. Within days, your skin and heart will thank you. Fewer night sweats, smoother heart rhythm, steadier wake-ups. The hidden magnetic field beneath you. Adjustable beds, motorized frames, even modern recliners can emit faint electromagnetic fields from standby transformers. For most people it's trivial, but older adults spending long hours in bed can feel subtle restlessness from the quiet buzz of power. The fix is easy. Unplug the bed base or switch off its main power strip after adjusting the position for the night. If you need to raise it again, plug it back in briefly. You'll notice silence, not just auditory, but bodily. A widower named Steve, 69, told me the moment he unplugged his adjustable base, the room stopped vibrating. Of course, the sound wasn't real, but the relief was. After decades sleeping light, he finally felt his body go fully still. What this means for a 50-plus listener: cutting standby power may reduce nighttime agitation and muscle tension. Instruction block: building a quiet field around the bed. First, walk barefoot around your bed after lights out. Listen, feel. Any hum, faint vibration, or glow you notice points to current flow. Next, trace the cords. If multiple devices share the same socket near your pillow, relocate or unplug the non-essential ones. Then add a grounded extension strip farther away, so nothing plugs in directly beside your headboard. Finally, make it ritual. Lights out, power off, silence on. Benefits: calmer heartbeat, less restlessness, more stable REM cycles. Risks of ignoring may be associated with fragmented sleep or mild thermal stress, especially in older adults sensitive to heat or electrical hums. Pause here for a moment. Do you sleep with any device plugged in under or beside your bed? Drop a quick note below. Others might recognize their own habits in yours. There's a quiet invader sitting inches from almost every bed in the developed world. It hums, pulses, and sometimes even glows faintly in the dark. Most people never question it, yet it may be the strongest constant source of radiation in your bedroom. It's your Wi-Fi router, or its younger cousin, the smart speaker with a built-in wireless hub. For those over 65, this device deserves a second look. not from fear, but from understanding. The signal that never sleeps. The Wi-Fi signal doesn't rest when you do. It exchanges invisible handshakes with phones, tablets, and TVs 24 hours a day, pulsing in bursts. Most of the time, it's weak and considered safe. But for older adults whose sleep cycles are easily disrupted, these constant bursts can act like faint taps on a window that never stop. They don't wake you completely, but they may prevent the deepest sleep stage, the one that rebuilds your memory and coordination. Eleanor, 71, in Vermont, didn't believe this mattered. Her router sat under her nightstand because that's where the phone line was. She'd begun waking every few hours, heart fluttering lightly, a sensation she described as my chest listening to something. Her doctor ruled out heart disease. Out of curiosity, her grandson moved the router to the living room and put it on a timer plug to shut off at midnight. Within 3 nights, Eleanor slept through without medication. By the 5th, she noticed her mind felt clearer before coffee. What this means for a 50-plus listener: giving your Wi-Fi a curfew can help restore deep, uninterrupted rest. How distance works in your favor. Radiation from routers and similar devices weakens dramatically with every foot of distance, like the fading echo of a voice down a hallway. Moving your router even 10 feet farther away can reduce exposure by a large margin. For most homes, that's as simple as placing it on a shelf outside the bedroom, or turning it off during hours when no one needs the internet. Older adults often have more trouble falling back asleep after waking. The fewer invisible nudges your brain receives, the better your chances of drifting back into deep rest. Instruction block: creating a nighttime Wi-Fi curfew. First, locate your router or smart hub. Next, if it's in your bedroom, move it to the nearest hallway or office space, ideally behind a wall, not under a table beside your bed. Then, connect it to a simple outlet timer set to power down at midnight and restart at 6 a.m., or use the Wi-Fi schedule setting in your router's app. Finally, for those who live with others, announce a digital sundown rule. After a certain hour, devices rest too. You'll know it's working when your body begins to unwind faster at night and mornings feel less wired before coffee. The night of silence. Robert and Linda, a retired couple from Portland, used to joke that their bedroom looked like an airport runway. Router lights, phone chargers, a tablet stand, and a digital frame glowing softly. They followed a simple plan one evening. Unplug the frame, move the router to the next room, dim the lamps. That night, Linda said the silence had a texture, like stepping outside after snow. They fell asleep in half the usual time. What this means for a 50-plus listener: light and signal clutter both affect the brain. Clearing them together amplifies calm. For context, major health agencies agree that household Wi-Fi operates far below limits known to cause tissue heating or proven harm. Still, sleep medicine specialists frequently note that reducing sensory and signal load at night, light, sound, wireless chatter, improves sleep architecture. It's not about panic. It's about peace. So here's the easy test. Tonight, when you switch off the lamp, also turn off your router or move it out of the bedroom. Tomorrow morning, note how you feel before your first sip of coffee. That's the difference between sleeping near noise and sleeping in quiet air. If this story made you glance toward the corner of your room, you're not alone. What's the glowing gadget nearest your pillow right now? Write it in the comments. You might inspire someone else to reclaim their quiet nights. It hums so faintly you forget it's alive, a soft circle of plastic sitting inches from your face, measuring every breath you take. For millions of people over 65, it's not a phone or a light. It's the digital alarm clock, often the oldest tech relic in the room, quietly radiating low-level fields and harsh light straight into the eyes through the night. The tiny glow that tricks the brain. You might think that little red or green glow is harmless, but our eyes are incredibly sensitive, even when closed. Studies show that even dim light, especially in the blue-green range, can suppress melatonin and shift your sleep cycle. After 50, when melatonin production already declines naturally, that small glow can make the difference between deep sleep and a restless night. Helen, 76, from San Diego, had used the same clock for 30 years. The bright digits comforted her. A quick glance told her the time, proof she wasn't losing hours. Yet her sleep grew fractured. One evening, her granddaughter covered the clock with a soft scarf, leaving only a thin line of light. The next morning, Helen couldn't believe she'd slept 6 hours straight without waking once. It felt like someone turned down the world, she said. What this means for a 50-plus listener: even tiny reductions in light exposure can restore longer, deeper sleep. The clock beside the heart. Another quiet layer: proximity. Many alarm clocks and bedside radios operate close to the chest and head, powered by alternating current that produces small electromagnetic fields. While these are not considered dangerous, for older adults with pacemakers, arrhythmias, or light sleep, experts often recommend keeping power devices at least a few feet away from the body. When you place that clock directly beside your head, you create a signal bubble your heart and brain share all night. Again, not a cause for fear, but an invitation to gentler surroundings. Instruction block: building a sleep-friendly wake routine. First, replace bright digital clocks with dimmable, battery-powered versions or analog ones that use gentle amber or red light. Next, position the clock at least 3 feet from your pillow, ideally on a low dresser opposite your bed. Then, set your alarm volume to medium and cover any indicator lights with a small piece of tape. Finally, if you wake in the dark and want to check the time, use a motion-activated night light instead of a glowing display. You'll quickly notice your eyelids feel heavier at bedtime, and your room gains a new stillness, one that your nervous system immediately recognizes as safe. A story of letting go. Charles, 68, from Toronto, described himself as a lifelong clock watcher. After retiring, he found himself waking every hour, checking the digits, calculating how much sleep he had left. It became an obsession, he said. One evening, his wife simply unplugged the clock. The first few nights he was uneasy, then something shifted. Without that glow pulling him back to consciousness, his sleep deepened. In the morning, he found he'd slept past sunrise, the first time in years. What this means for a 50-plus listener: breaking the habit of nighttime time-checking calms the stress cycle and supports natural sleep rhythms. Why it matters even more after 60. Our pupils shrink with age. That means the eye takes in less light during the day, but remains just as sensitive to artificial light at night. A small glow that barely registers in youth can overwhelm an older retina, telling the brain that dawn is near. Reclaiming true darkness restores melatonin flow and gives the body a clearer cue. It's time to rest, to repair, to renew. So tonight, take one simple challenge: cover or unplug your clock for just a single night. In the morning, ask yourself, did you dream more? Did the night feel shorter, quieter, safer? I'd love to know. What's glowing in your room right now that you could let rest tonight? Leave a quick note below. Your small experiment might help someone halfway across the world rediscover their deep sleep. There's one object that seems too innocent to question: soft, functional, and often brand new. The electric mattress pad or heated underblanket. For many seniors, it's comfort itself. Yet what few realize is that it rests directly beneath the body, weaving thin electric wires inches from the heart and spine through the entire night. The warmth beneath that never quiets. For older adults, stable core temperature means everything. It affects blood pressure, balance, and even morning cognition. The constant low-level warmth from an electric pad can interfere with the body's built-in cooling phase that signals time to sleep. In fact, research in sleep medicine notes that body temperature naturally dips in the first 2 hours of rest, prompting deeper sleep. Constant warmth keeps the body slightly alert. Mildred, 70, from Wisconsin, didn't think about any of this. Her winters were brutal, and her electric pad felt like mercy. But she also noticed her nights had grown shorter. She'd wake at 3, restless and flushed. One night, her daughter suggested switching the pad off once she got into bed. It felt strange at first, Mildred said, but the air felt fresher somehow. Within days, her sleep lengthened by nearly 2 hours. What this means for a 50-plus listener: Gentle warmth is comforting, but cooling down naturally invites restorative sleep. Instruction block: how to warm without overheating. First, use the pad to preheat your bed. Switch it on 20 minutes before bedtime. Next, unplug it before you climb in. Never just turn it to low. Then, rely on layered cotton or flannel sheets that trap body heat while still breathing. Finally, keep room temperature between 64 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, cool enough for your body to release heat naturally. Your muscles will relax more deeply, and morning swelling or puffiness often reduces within a week. The emotional side of warmth. Many older adults use heated pads not just for comfort, but for reassurance, a symbolic guard against cold, loneliness, or pain. Letting it go can feel like losing a small friend. But the gain, deeper rest, fewer night sweats, steadier mornings, becomes a truer comfort. Take it slowly. You don't have to throw it away, just change how it's used. Warmth should greet you, not stay with you all night. The fourth item, the one next to most beds, is the cordless phone base or smartphone charging station. It hums all night, sending and receiving signals every few seconds. It sits where it shouldn't, right beside the head of someone who needs silence to heal. The pulse beside the pillow. Nancy, 69, in Boston, slept with her cordless phone on the nightstand just in case. But the base station emits a steady low-level radio signal, even when the handset rests quietly in its cradle. Nancy didn't know that until her grandson borrowed a signal meter for a school project and noticed high readings by her bed. "I couldn't believe something that never rang could still be talking," she said. She moved the base to the hallway, and for the first time in years, woke up feeling rested. What this means for a 50-plus listener. The most helpful safety devices can still disturb rest if they're too close for too long. Cordless phones, wireless intercoms, baby monitors, all share a trait: constant contact with their paired unit. At a distance, the effect fades. At arm's length, it's constant chatter your body can sense, if not hear. The sensory silence test. Here's a simple way to tell if your bedroom carries too many active signals. First, lie down in total darkness for a minute. Next, focus on your breath and listen, not with your ears, but with your skin. If you sense a faint vibration, heat, or restlessness that seems to come from nowhere, try turning off one wireless device at a time. When the feeling eases, you've found your main culprit. Instruction block: how to store communication devices safely. First, relocate the cordless phone base to a separate room. Only the handset should stay near you, preferably on the far side of the bed. Next, if you rely on your mobile phone for emergencies, set it to airplane mode or at least silent mode overnight. Then, if you need it for alarms or medical alerts, use wired options or low signal modes. Finally, ensure all chargers are unplugged when not in use. Even idle transformers hum faintly. Older adults often report reduced nighttime agitation and lower morning tension simply from this one shift. If this resonates with you, what device sits closest to your pillow right now? Share it below. Your comment might open someone else's eyes tonight. There's a softer culprit we rarely blame: the memory foam mattress or synthetic pillow infused with chemical fire retardants and compounds that off-gas slowly over time. They don't emit radiation in the electronic sense, but they do release trace chemicals that can irritate sensitive systems, especially lungs already delicate with age. The air we breathe while we sleep. For seniors spending 8 or 9 hours in bed, air quality becomes as vital as light or noise. Older lungs have slower filtration. Nasal passages dry out faster. When the bed materials release volatile compounds under body heat, the body absorbs them with every breath. Harriet, 73, from Arizona, loved her soft mattress. It hugged her joints perfectly. Yet every morning she woke congested and lightheaded. She blamed allergies until her daughter suggested removing the plastic mattress cover and airing the mattress outdoors. The smell that came off in the sun was shocking, Harriet said. They switched to a cotton and wool hybrid mattress. Within weeks, her sinuses cleared and her energy returned. What this means for a 50-plus listener: choosing natural materials supports cleaner air and calmer sleep. Instruction block: how to purify your sleep surface. First, strip your bed and allow the mattress and pillows to air out by an open window for a few hours weekly. Next, use cotton or wool protectors rather than vinyl or coated covers. Then, if replacing a mattress, let it air for at least 72 hours before sleeping on it. Finally, add a simple houseplant such as peace lily or snake plant near the bed. They naturally refresh the air overnight. Not every foam or synthetic bed is harmful, but being conscious of air freshness helps your brain oxygenate better through the night, a vital key for memory and energy after 60. The last toxic presence in many bedrooms isn't electronic or chemical. It's clutter powered by sentiment and habit. Piles of gadgets plugged into the same outlet, tangled cords, night lights, massagers, and used humidifiers, all generating faint noise, heat, or light that tells the brain, stay alert. The energy of too much stuff. For the older mind, especially one managing mild insomnia or anxiety, every visible object is a microstimulus. Each shape, each light, keeps the subconscious counting, scanning, reacting. The nervous system can't fully let go. Ellen, 75, from Michigan, realized her nightstand had become a small city. A phone, lamp, hearing aid charger, electric candle, humidifier, and digital frame. I thought these things made life easier, she said, but I think they made me feel watched. One weekend, she cleared it all, leaving only a small lamp and a photo of her grandchildren. The first night felt like the room was finally mine again. What this means for a 50-plus listener: simplicity itself reduces mental stimulation and promotes calm. Instruction block: how to create a rest zone. First, unplug and remove every device you don't use nightly. Next, dust and wipe down surfaces. Fresh scent cues the brain for renewal. Then, limit visible cords, coil or hide them behind furniture. Finally, add one grounding object: a plant, a book, a soft lamp that tells your body this space is safe. You'll feel the change instantly. Calmer eyes, slower breathing, fewer intrusive thoughts. That's not decoration, that's nervous system hygiene. Closing reflection: the bedroom is where your body repairs, your memories settle, your heart resets. Yet for many over 65, it's also become a laboratory of signals, lights, hums, and fumes. When you start reclaiming that space, moving one gadget, unplugging one cord, covering one light, you're not just reducing radiation. You're choosing peace over noise, calm over clutter, life over static. Remember, none of this is about fear. It's about awareness. Small, steady actions, a nightly unplug, a darker corner, cleaner air, can return years of quality rest. Thank you for being here, for caring about your well-being, for listening until the end. If this resonated, please subscribe to Senior Wisdom and Wellness, where each week we share science-based stories to help you sleep deeper, move easier, and live steadier. What's the first thing you'll unplug tonight? Leave a short comment. Your small change might light someone else's way to a quieter, healthier night.